Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to this very special edition of News Talk. News Talk, again, as usual, coming to you from the great state of Texas. Precisely, Houston, Texas. I'd like to welcome all of you tuning in from all of Africa, from the diaspora, talking about Europe, the Middle East, South and North America, including Canada, and everywhere you are joining from across the globe. This is promising to be very, very exciting. If you are tuned in and joined already by way of the social media, be it Facebook or YouTube, please do me a favor. Go ahead and you hit that share button. Let everybody know the Anchorman is right here and alive. Not just live, but alive. Please go ahead and hit your share button as I come back to you with a very, very interesting broadcast that I specially prepared for today. So please do me a favor. Let others quickly join the platform. Hit the share button, especially those of you joining by way of Facebook. Do me a favor, hit the share button and let every Amazonian across the globe join the Anchorman today. I will be right back in a second. Once more, thank you for tuning in and good evening. Welcome to News Talk with yours truly, Chris Anu, joining you from the great state of Texas here in the USA. It's a privilege always to come to you with updates with what is happening in Amazonia, the Federal Republic of Amazonia. Today I come to you with a very, very illuminating and interesting subject, the myth of reunification. The myth of reunification. Was there any form of unification between La République du Cameroon and the Southern Cameroons prior to the partition of Africa? Because when the word reunification is used today in that context, they are actually trying to say that Cameroon, the two Cameroons, probably the three Cameroons, there was Northern Cameroons. Many people are mistaken that when they use Northern Cameroon, they are not referring to La République du Cameroon, they are referring to the other part of Cameroon that joined with Nigeria in 1961. So there is a tendency in La République du Cameroon for politicians to want us to believe that we have always been a single country until the colonialists came in and divided us. Is that true or false? I am going to do justice to that subject today, and my panel will also be joining me in that discussion. We are bringing this to you, especially if you are where we call ground zero. We want you to be armed with knowledge and intelligence to know when the enemy comes with manipulation. All this is done just to make sure that we are assimilated. Remember that La République du Cameroon's President Paul Biya had told a journalist in France that they tried everything to assimilate us, to integrate us, Amazonia into La République du Cameroon, but that we refuse. We refuse. Of course, we did, and we continue to do so today because, ladies and gentlemen, we are not Cameroonians, have never been Cameroonians. The word Real dos Camerus did not refer to Amazonia. I hope you get this. Rio dos Cameroon was the discovery of La République du Cameroon, not Ambazonia, Ambas Bay. Instead, refer to the discovery of the southern Cameroons, and that is the history I will be delving into tonight. And I please urge you to go ahead and hit your share button, because this promises to be very, very illuminating. Hit your share button, and I'll be right back. When I come back, I will take you to Momo County, where we have learned of a meeting in Yaoundé of Momo administrators, Momo mayors, leaving the northern zone, all of the northern zone, passing through Bamenda, passing through Santa, passing through Akuman, all those places, to go all the way to Yaoundé to hold a meeting of Momo mayors. What were they talking about? How important was it? Why would they take a meeting of Momo mayors from Bangui all the way to Yaoundé? We're going to talk about that. Also, we are also going to talk about the insecurity and the harassment and the insecurity that is going on in Menji in Lebialem. Please, again, do me the favor, continue to hit your share button as you join, because this promises to be very, very exciting. I will be right back in less than 50 seconds. All right, ladies and gentlemen, please let me know whether my audio is good enough out there. Some people say the voice, I don't know what it means. Somebody said I am producing an echo. Let me know that you can hear me good enough out there. I can barely hear myself here, because if my microphone is turned up, then the echo in here, the speakers pick up the echo. So let me know. Let me know if you can hear me good enough. The images you'll find on your screen there, they are coming from Yaoundé. They are coming from Yaoundé, and they are coming from a meeting that took place in Yaoundé on April, I believe, April the 28th. April the 28th was that meeting, ladies and gentlemen, a meeting of Momo mayors, I was told. Momo mayors meeting in Yaoundé. A meeting of Momo mayors meeting in Yaoundé. Now, it beats my imagination that all of Momo mayors will bypass Bamenda and bypass everywhere else. And by the way, what is driving them out of Momo in the first place? And I mean Mbengwe. What is driving them out of Mbengwe all the way to Yaoundé to hold a meeting of Momo mayors? I am still to understand. But the meeting, as you see there, those are supposed to be Momo mayors. I don't know whether there are that many. But that the meeting you see there with Solomon Young, Acha Rose, and some they call it Northwest delegation, as they call it, Northwest delegation of Northwest delegation of Amazonia. Let me put it that way. They don't call it that way. Represented in La République du Cameroon, and the head of that Northwest delegation represented in La République du Cameroon is Philemon Yang. Philemon Yang. He is described as the head of the Northwest delegation. The Northwest delegation in Yaoundé. I don't know who is the head of the Southwest delegation in Yaoundé. That is how, ladies and gentlemen, we have been fragmented. That is how they divide and conquer us. Can you imagine? Can you imagine that there is a so-called the leader, the head of the Northwest delegation in Yaoundé? And of course, we also have the head of the Southwest delegation. I don't know whether that is John Mute or Fonukete or whoever that it is. That is how they try to divide, to conquer us. Now, they take a meeting of Momo mayors, and instead of meeting in Mbengui, they take it all the way to Yaoundé, where they receive their instructions. They received their instructions, not how to develop the county, but how to conduct their elections, how to rig their elections. That is the purpose, the sole purpose for which they took them to Yaoundé. I like to read a news report. That news report was written by someone else, not from us. I like to read a news report that accompanied these images, the images that you see on your screen there. And the news report says day one. Now, this was April the 24th. This took place April the 24th. And it says day one of the 2-day working session with CPD and mayors. CPD, you know, that's a one-party country. You all know that. CPD, day one of the 2-day working session with CPD and mayors and parliamentarians, MPs of the Northwest region has kicked off at the Yaoundé Conference Center April the 24th. An initiative of the Northwest CPDM Permanent Regional Delegation. Now take note of that. An initiative of the Northwest CPDM Permanent Regional Delegation. I don't know what that means by a permanent regional delegation, whatsoever that means. The session was opened by the regional head, His Excellency Philemon Yang. Those are their words, not mine. In his opening speech, the PM Emeritus situated the pivotal position of the mayors in the present disposition of the decentralization drive. The present disposition of the decentralization drive. Ladies and gentlemen, please, I like you to be honest. Since we started this war in 2016, is there anything like decentralization drive? Is there anything like that? If decentralization is taking place in your neck of the wood or in your community, please let us know. Drop a note there on your screen as you watch. If you are watching by way of YouTube and Facebook, drop a note there. Let's know if some decentralization has happened in your community. The DOs are still, the governors are still there and appointed. The DOs, the colonial DOs are still there and appointed. The mayors are still there and appointed. So I don't know what do they mean by decentralization? What has changed? Of course, nothing has changed. And so the idea of this dispensation or disposition of decentralization, the regular language, the regular parlance we hear from them year in, year out. Again, if there has been any decentralization in your community, let me know. The mayors are still ruled, are still under the command of the DOs. Think about that. The mayors are still under the command of the DOs, the mayors cannot do anything within their communities until they have consulted with the DOs. And the DOs cannot do anything in their communities till they have consulted with the governor. And guess what? The so-called regional councils, according to the decree that set forth the so-called regional councils. The regional councils were there, ladies and gentlemen, to initiate development projects, and they received the budget for those development projects from Yaoundé, the La Republic capital. But listen to this. Yaoundé, in every occasion, has told these so-called regional capitals, we don't have a budget for you. You are okay to think and to dream and to figure out what you want to do, but listen, we don't have money for you. But by the way, come to think about this. The regional councils are there to initiate this development in their various communities. Then I ask the question, what is the difference between the mayors and the regional councils? The mayors, if there was decentralization as Philemon Young wants us to believe, supposed to be the catalyst of development, not some regional councils that is scattered in different communities. The mayors should be the catalyst of development, not a regional council. So the so-called regional council is a duplication of the duty, the responsibility of the local mayor. And that is what Cameroon knows how to do. When you cry and you agitate and you protest, they just go about and duplicate responsibilities. And when they duplicate responsibilities, all they try to do is go into your communities, pick some influential people, put them in those positions so that you see it and you feel like, oh, my countryman is a chair, is a member, is part of it. They try to pacify you to remain quiet. That is how La Republic du Cameroon rules the country. And they do this all the time to pacify Amazonians. So listen to the rest of the story. He says, in the opening speech, PM Emeritus situated the pivotal position of the mayors in the present disposition of the decentralization drive as wished by the head of state, the almighty head of state. He appealed to the mayors to take the bull by the horns and to champion development at the local level, a campaign ingredient for future elections, he said. He reminded mayors that they were endorsed. Of course, we know that they were endorsed by the CPDM because there is no other party in the country. The mayors were all endorsed. They were reminded by the CPDM and that they must remain loyal. Ladies and gentlemen, these are not my words. These are their words. That the mayors must remain loyal and support the party at all times. Philemon Young underscored the role of mayors in the ongoing voter registration process, which must target, he said, the militants and sympathizers of the CPDM. After his speech, thoughts kicked in. Minister Mba Acha Rose, they said, took the lead with a resume on public finance management. Fai Yengo Francis followed with how to handle civil status registration documents. Tan Paul had the task of drilling mayors on the working relation between the mayors and administration, party hierarchy, other elected officials, elite, and the population. The session so far has been engaging with questions and answers. They say, ladies and gentlemen, again, that took place in Yaoundé. I think by now that meeting would have rounded up because it took place, that started on April the 24th, and we are today on the 4th. We are on the 4th of May. But the main point, the main message I want you to take home is that Yaoundé hasn't learned anything. Yaoundé hasn't learned anything for the past 8 years of this struggle. They still have the infantry to gather our elected mayors to their capital to instruct them how to govern our people. That is not what we have been fighting for the past 8 years. We're looking for a country, ladies and gentlemen. We are fighting for a country in which the people rule and govern themselves. The people rule and govern themselves. In advanced countries, or they call it advanced democracies, or let me put it this way, in real democratic situations, the people, the mayors hold town hall meetings with their residents, with their indigents, and the indigents dictate to the mayors what their priorities should be. It doesn't come from above. It comes from the people. The people dictate the pace and the direction of their own development in their communities. Not all these fruitless meetings where they gather together, wine and dine together, and they go back to their different communities. Nothing ever change. The bureaucracy continue. The tribalism and the nepotism, they all continue. That is what happened in that meeting in Yaoundé. I'd like all of you to know, if there is any reason we keep on fighting, it is because of situations like this one, where our people cannot on their own decide what happens in their own community. Our people, administrators must be carried to Yaoundé, indoctrinated, told what must happen and how it must happen. The same thing they do with their colonial SDOs, with their colonial governors. They are always told what to do. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the reason why, again, we keep on fighting, and we will fight until we have won the battle. Please don't touch your remote. I am going to be right back, and when I come back, I'm taking you to Lebialem, where we have been told of lots of insecurity, harassment, and abduction by the colonial police, the colonial army, the occupying army in Lebialem. Please stay put.
Life has returned to the once comatose town of Menji. Several persons have returned to their homes, health facilities and schools operating like before.
The senior divisional officer sitting there. We are not flattering you, sir. We are talking from the bottom of our hearts. Without you, Menji municipality will not be as it is as the president of the YCPN state. It is God that sent you. It seems God touched the hearts and the eyes of the administration to say this was the man of the situation. This was the man of the moment. And since you came, things have changed.
The relative peace now enjoyed in this town is also thanks to the brilliance and determination of the defense and security forces. As they now think less about security, the attention of denizens in Lebialem has been redirected to other major problems.
The road is very poor. But very soon it will be good.
It requires both skills, strength, and a little bit of aggressiveness to drive on this road. Soon, this ordeal will be a thing of the past. Construction works has already begun on the road from Alo. At the moment, they are around Ndungatet. The project is being piloted by the state. The aim is that before the rains come heavy, the road should have been completed. The population hopes that works will be accelerated so that the caterpillars get to Mengi before the rainy season.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, again, the images you are looking there, they depict life in Mengi. Life in Mengi, as you can tell, that place is still a bush. The place is still a bush from the over 6 years of surrender of La République du Cameroon officials. Now, I'd like you to know that this report, I do not know whether this report was made by a TV station or whichever channel that carried out this report. But what you will discover in this report is the praises given to the colonial official as being God sent. The colonial official in Lebialem, colonial SDO, as being God sent. I don't know what type of people. Were these people born by the same mother and the same father? Look at the young guy there who says, the governor is God, the DO is God sent. That is guy. The DO is God sent. I'd like you to listen to him. Listen to him.
We are not flattering you, sir. We are talking from the bottom of our hearts. Without you, Mengi municipality will not be as it is as the president of the YCPN state. It is God that sent you. It seems God touched the heart.
It is God that sent him. It is God that sent him. Let me assure all of them that the war is not over, and the BLM will always remain one of the counties fronting this struggle until it is said and done, until this struggle is over. We've never stopped people from going back home. We've never stopped people, civilians, from returning to their home because Amazonians, we did not send them out of their homes in the first place. The fighters did not send them out of their homes in the first place. The people vanished. The people disappeared. They walked away at the arrival of the occupying La République du Cameroon's army. And so we have always advised people, you want to go back home, if you feel there is security, you want to go back home, it is your choice, it is your decision to do so. Nobody stops anyone from returning home. However, returning home, especially from the elite of the BLM, the kudos of the BLM, the colonial administrators has been built, ladies and gentlemen, it has been built on falsehood. Now, they do these video clips once in a while. You can see that Mengi is still a forest. That is not Mengi that we knew before the war started. It is still a forest as you can see it. But let me assure everybody in Lebialem, from Wabane to Alo to Mengi, that until the war is over, please do not take anything. Messages like the one being sent by this guy. I don't know who this guy is, who is giving all the praises, lavishing all the praises on the colonial DO. Let me assure you that until it is all said and done, we realize that security will never be secured in the Lebialem, in Mengi, as in other part of Amazonia, as in every other part, every other county in Amazonia. Now we have learned recently how a lot of Cameroon soldiers, colonial occupying soldiers in Mengi, they go home to home, abducting people, they are either stealing people's cocoa. They go even to the farm, cocoa farms, and they confiscate farmers' cocoa. When they are not going to the farm to confiscate their cocoa, they go home to home, they walk house to house They broke into the homes and stole either harassed or stole money from the people. That is the information coming from Menji. And so if you are out there and you are not yet in Menji, if you have not returned to Menji, know that that is exactly what is going on there. That is exactly what is going on in Menji. And again, look at it. Menji still remains a forest. Now, let me assure everybody in Menji who is there right now in any part of the Lebialem County. Our educational policy has not changed. It has not changed. We still stand by community schools. We stand by community schools. So if you are taking your children back to Menji or back to anywhere, please begin to figure out if they cannot, if there are no community schools. I ask you, I beckon you, while there is still time, begin to figure out where your children will have to go to school. It is not over till it is over. And for the colonial administrators who are kind of salivating like life is back in Menji, listen, it is not even near being back. So, wait and watch. That is it for that story, ladies and gentlemen. I will take a brief break out, and when I come back, I take you to my main subject for the day, which is the myth of reunification, destroying the argument that there was reunification before independent Cameroon and Ambazonia. Please stay put. I will be right back.
ABS can help you reach your target audience like never before. Advertising on ABS, you'll benefit from our extensive reach and dedicated viewership. We offer special advertising packages during primetime slots and popular shows. You'll also be featured on our social media platforms, reaching an even wider audience. Don't miss out on this opportunity. Take your business to the next level. Contact our advertising team at absafricatv@gmail.com. ABS can help you reach your target audience like never before. Advertising on ABS, you'll benefit from our extensive reach and dedicated viewership. We offer special advertising packages during primetime slots and popular shows. You'll also be featured on our social media platforms, reaching an even wider audience. Don't miss out on this opportunity. Take your business to the next level. Contact our advertising team at absafricatv@gmail.com. ABS can help you reach your target.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, at this moment, I will now take you to my monologue for the day. But before I do that, I'd like to assure all of you, field marshals' death or killing will never go in vain. It is very, very personal to me. It will never, ever go in vain. And so I can assure you, the Lebialem will never fall into the hands of La République du Cameroon. It is not coming to happen. Just watch and see. The myth of reunification, destructing the territorial and administrative unity of Cameroon, is the subject of this monologue I bring to you today. The concept of reunification in the context of Cameroon often evokes sentiments of unity and cohesion. However, a closer examination reveals a narrative woven with complexities and historical intricacies. By dissecting the historical trajectories of East Cameroon and West Cameroon, formerly known as Rio dos Cameros and Ambas Bay, respectively, one can unveil the myth surrounding the purported reunification. This commentary delves into the pre-colonial era, colonial legacies, territorial delineations, and political agendas that challenge the notion of a unified Cameroon before independence. To understand the genesis of Cameroon's territorial and administrative unity, one must navigate through the colonial era, the demarcation of territories, and the imposition of administrative structures by European powers laid the groundwork for the contemporary geopolitical landscape. The Portuguese, in their exploration, bestowed the name Rio dos Cameros upon the coastal region of La République du Cameroon, that is what they call today the littoral region and the rest of La République du Cameroon. The appellation denoted the presence of abundant stream in the Wuri River estuary. This designation was later adopted by the Germans, who seized control of the territory during the scramble for Africa and christened it Cameroon, with K, you all know that. The Portuguese around the same period also identified another distinct territory, which they named or called Ambas Bay, part of present-day southern Cameroons. The discovery of Ambas Bay occurred independently of Rio dos Cameros, highlighting the existence of separate entities here. The Germans amalgamated Ambas Bay into German Cameroon until the partition following World War I. It is crucial to acknowledge the different intervals of discovery here and colonization, which laid the foundation for the desperate trajectories of East Cameroon and West Cameroon. The lack of territorial and administrative unity between East Cameroon and West Cameroon, referred to in broad terms as Cameroon, can be traced back to their historical origins and the complex colonial legacy that shaped their development. The concept of reunification, as promoted by politicians in La République du Cameroon and the elite, can be seen as a myth when considering the historical context and the distinct trajectories of the territories that eventually came together to form the modern state of Cameroon. Before delving into the specific reasons why there was never a true unity between East and West Cameroon, it is very crucial to understand the historical background of these two territories. East Cameroon and West Cameroon were not independent nations with defined international boundaries and administrations until January 1961 and 1960, respectively. Prior to that, both territories were under colonial rule as trust territories, with East Cameroon under French administration and West Cameroon under British administration. Even before the colonial era, I mean, before the partition of Africa, the notion of a unified Cameroon as a single political entity was non-existent, ladies and gentlemen. It was non-existent. The Germans, who occupied the territory in the late 19th century, during the scramble for Africa, did not consider the vast expanse of land as a cohesive country. The original name, Cameroon, was an invention of the Portuguese and later adopted by the Germans and the British to refer to the territory along the coastal regions bordering neighboring countries like Equatorial Guinea, Gabon, and so on. Nigeria too. The Germans later referred to the territory as Cameroon, while the Portuguese named the area of present-day southern Cameroons as Ambas Bay, from where we get Ambazonia. These distinct names highlight the separate historical trajectories and colonial influences that shaped the development of East and West Cameroon. The partition of German Cameroon after World War I resulted in southern Cameroons, that is, Ambas Bay, coming under British mandate. Why? The larger portion became a French mandate. It is very essential, very important to recognize, ladies and gentlemen, that the territories of East and West Cameroon were not unified even before the colonial era. The absence of a central administration, the absence of governors, or divisional or district officers, and the rule of tribal chiefs over distinct clans further underscores the lack of a unified political entity prior to colonial rule. The absence of a shared history or governance structure challenges the notion of a pre-existing unity between the two territories. Moreover, the idea of reunification as propagated by the Republic du Cameroon neglects the distinct historical identities and trajectories of East and West Cameroon. These separate discoveries of Rio dos Cameros and Ambas Bay by the Portuguese, and the naming of these two territories as separate entities, emphasize the divergent histories of the two peoples. The attempt to portray a unified Cameroon before colonial rule overlooks the complex colonial legacy that shaped these territories. The resistance of Amazonians to the notion of reunification is rooted, therefore, in the recognition of their distinct historical identity as the Southern Cameroons or as Ambazonia, the name coming from Ambas Bay. The attempt to assimilate the Southern Cameroons into a unified narrative of Cameroon overlooks the unique heritage and political aspirations of the territory. The absence of a central authority or administrative structure in pre-colonial Cameroon raises questions about the feasibility of a unified political entity before the arrival of colonial powers. The lack of a supreme leader, of a centralized governance, or common set of rules further undermines the notion of a pre-existing unity between East and West Cameroon. Reunification, therefore, ladies and gentlemen, appears more as a political construct aimed at consolidating power rather than a reflection of historical reality. The rhetoric of reunification, propagated by Cameroonian politicians and elites, serves as a convenient narrative to uphold the status quo. However, this narrative conveniently overlooks the historical realities of separate colonial legacies, territorial distinctions, and administrative disparities. The designation of Rio dos Cameros and Ambas Bay as distinct territory, ladies and gentlemen, underscores the fallacy of a united Cameroon prior to independence. In light of these historical truths, Ambazonians are urged to resist the false narrative of reunification and assert their distinct identity as the Southern Cameroons or Ambazonians. The myth of reunification serves as a tool of assimilation and erasure, seeking to subjugate the geopolitical entity known as Amazonia under the guise of unity. By reclaiming their heritage and rejecting the myth of reunification, Amazonians assert their right to self-determination and sovereignty. By deconstructing this myth and reclaiming its heritage, Amazonians resist the erasure of their geopolitical entity. And ladies and gentlemen, that is my monologue for you today. I hope it is illuminating. I hope it is educative and it makes sense to you. Listen, we had Rio dos Cameros. Rio dos Cameros was the discovery of the coast of Douala, the river Wari as they call it, and the name it does by the Portuguese. Then Ambas Bay was also discovered on separate occasions by the Portuguese, and Ambas Bay was given to describe a territory that is today called Amazonia. That is where the name Amazonia is coming from. Rio dos Cameros described the territory from Douala and going forward to Yaoundé and the rest of that other part that belongs today to La République du Cameroon. So there were two distinct entities from day number one. All this until the Portuguese and the Germans arrived, they were ruled by chiefs, clansmen. The people subjected themselves to the clansmen, to the chiefs, the local chiefs. There was no administration, there was no Yaoundé, there was no Douala, nothing like that. In fact, there was no Boya. But the people ruled themselves through their chiefs. It was when the colonial powers came in that the French set up Yaoundé, and the Germans and the British set up Boya. Well, I will take you now to let me take you, bring my guest in to let us do some justice on this subject. Comrade Derek, please, if you can bend your camera slightly, that will be very much appreciated. That will be very much appreciated. Bend your camera slightly. Let me see who else is here. We are being joined, ladies and gentlemen, by Comrade Dennis and Comrade Agbo Derek and the Honorable Chris, as you are the Vice Chair of the Restoration Council. I can't see him. He was here a few minutes ago. I hope he rejoins. If he's listening to me, all right, I can see him now. Okay. Honorable Chris, it's a pleasure to have you back on the News Talk, sir.
Yes, thank you very much, Comrade Chris, for inviting me and the other panel members to the show, Comrade Dennis Atemking and our Comrade Derek. Greetings to all Amazonians watching and to all those that are participating and watching around the world. I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. I also see Comrade Derek is here. Comrade Derek, it's a pleasure to have you back, sir.
Thank you, Comrade Chris. I'm always ready when it comes to Amazonia. I always prefer to drop whatever thing I have to discuss anything that concerns our political history. And it's a pleasure being here one more time. And I would like to thank you for always inviting me. It's not every TV that is open like yours. We have the SCBC, we have the the Egg of Sea TV, but you will never see some of us there. Because they prefer to, they choose their people so they can come up here and give their own narrative. But with your TV, it's free. One is free to bring out his mind, say even things against you. And that is how Amazonia is supposed to be.
So you use it to plot against me, eh?
Well, So I would like to thank our viewers again for coming up, and I promise them that this will be a very rich discussion. And I would like them, those who are already on, to share as much as possible. And I would like to thank our self-defense forces who are still keeping the struggle on. I would like to thank our mothers, our parents as well, and even our children who are now beginning to learn more about their history. So thank you, Comrade Chris, for having me.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. I think the most educated historian among us as far as this subject is concerned is Comrade Dennis. Dennis Atem. It's a pleasure to have you back, sir.
Thank you, Comrade Chris. I'm very happy to be back. I was taken very suddenly for this particular outing, but I made it. I just wish that Ambazonians are listening. We learn to educate ourselves, since in fact we did not have any proper documented history until this war broke out. And I'm very happy that you are coming up with very engaging topics which are helping our people to understand their history, to learn more, to understand why we are fighting, and to actually ground themselves in the struggle. I'm very pleased about this. I just hope that Ambazonians are listening so that at the end of the day, once this topic is properly treated, they will no longer regurgitate the narrative of the enemy by saying there was reunification. There was nothing like that. You have highlighted the most important elements of the story, and I think that everybody who is listening will finally understand that this was a narrative invented by the colonizer to continually subjugate and suppress us. Thank you very much for bringing up this topic, which I hope we'll properly deal with this evening. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. Just try to focus your camera in view so as people are able to see your face. But as you have said, this is a very important topic, ladies and gentlemen, because through the years we have been told of this idea of reunification. You always hear reunification. I mean, there is some historical emblem in Boya that is called reunification emblem. I think that was set up on the 50th anniversary of what they call reunification. Reunification. That emblem is in Boya. In the course of this show, we'll be able to bring you that emblem. So we've been told forever that Cameroon, English Cameroon, and French Cameroon, I mean, East Cameroon, as they call it, and West Cameroon, they've always been one country. Ladies and gentlemen, I will submit to you that there wasn't even East and West Cameroon until 1960 and 1961. In fact, 1961, when Ambazonia, the southern Cameroons, held a plebiscite or referendum to become, to join with Cameroon as a sovereign state. That was when East and West, that was when French Cameroon was called East Cameroon, and the Southern Cameroons was called East Cameroon. Before then, you go back, the Southern Cameroons was part of Nigeria under the British trusteeship. The French were part. French Cameroon was under the French trusteeship. Before then were the Germans. Before the Germans, the Portuguese carried out the discovery. So the question is, where was La République du Cameroon and Ambazonia before the Portuguese? And that is where we should be tracing this question of reunification. And I would like Dennis to come in here and give us a little follow-up on this. Where was Ambazonia before German Cameroon? Dennis, please.
Okay. Now that is a very important question, You know that even the idea of Cameroon, the actual Cameroon was only traced by the Germans because the Portuguese ended at the coastline, and it was the Germans now during the Berlin Conference who mapped out the area that was finally called Cameroon. But that Cameroon that was mapped out never had any single parliament or common assembly that brought the whole entity together. In fact, the Germans were just simply trying to make their roads into the hinterland when the First World War broke out. When the First World War broke out, the French and the English managed to defeat the Germans, and probably by 1916, the Germans had been flushed out of the territory. And initially, it was the French who were governing the whole of that territory that was seized from the Germans. But on the 28th of June, 1919, the Berlin the Versailles Treaty was signed, in which Germany, under Article 119, surrendered all its former territories and renounced them completely. Incidentally, it was on that same day that the partition of that territory into English Cameroon and French Cameroon actually occurred, because it was actually done on the 28th of June 1919. 1 month later, on the 10th of July, Milner and Simon actually drew the line that separated those two territories in London, and it became now known as English Cameroon under United Kingdom administration and Cameroon under French administration. So even if we are thinking only of territory that is without any proper administration and without any legal personality, they actually began a separate existence from 1919. Now, if you trace from 1919 until 1961, you will see that there was no point at all during those two entities, because remember that if we are talking of reunification, we must identify the entities that were being reunified. And in this case, it is the British Southern Cameroons and French Cameroon that were being unified. But then you can go further to say that as entities unified, you must define their legal date of birth, which according to international law is the day on which they get independence. So Cameroon actually emerged as an independent country on the 1st of January 1960. The British Southern Cameroons emerged, even though not as a sovereign country, on the 1st of October 1961. So, if you trace from 1919, when these territories actually came into being, to 1961, you see that there was no period within that period during which they ever had a common life. Even before then, as administering as a colonial, I would not call them as trust territories and mandates. They never shared any common life at all, because they came into existence only upon the dissolution of German Cameroon. They did not exist under German Cameroon. That should be made absolutely clear. British Southern Cameroons and French Cameroon did not exist under German Cameroon. They are the result of the dismemberment or the partition of German Cameroon. So nobody can even say that this is uniting British Cameroon and French Cameroon who existed under German Cameroon. No, they did not exist. So it is critically important that we should be very aware of these timelines when things happen. And remember, after the League of Nations was created in 1920, the League of Nations confirmed that partition that had been made between the French and the English. And so the boundaries became more and more permanent. They were again reconfirmed in 1946. So the idea of unification is one of those big, big lies that Cantor and his friends have been insisting upon and telling our people this. And our people believe them without even reflecting on all of these issues. So I think the timelines are very clear, and we are very clear, in fact, that There was no common administration between the two. They don't have a common language. They don't have the same colonial master. They don't have the same legal system. There's absolutely nothing that is common between the British Southern Cameroons and French Cameroon. In fact, if you go back to the British declassified files, you will see that the British were terribly afraid that the people of the Southern Cameroon would destroy the ballots in the plebiscite of 1961 because they hated the French system so much that they did not even want to have anything to do with the French system. But being cornered the way they were forced now, especially because in Nigeria they were calling our people Cameroonians. And that is where the mistake came from. This is the root of the confusion into which our people entered. The fact that they were calling them in Nigeria Cameroonians. So this is a short history between the period of after the First World War till 1961, when these people are fabricating this mother of all lies about reunification. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Let me take it to Honorable Chris. As you are there, you've lived longer. You live longer than all of us here. I believe so. And you live this history. Tell us what you know. What your perspective is on this subject of reunification. Reunification.
Yes, Comrade Chris, I want to thank also Comrade Dennis Atemking for the in-depth analysis about our history and what happened. First, I would like to say that French Cameroon has always lived on falsehood and deception. This whole myth about reunification is nothing but falsehood and deception. They know very well, even according to history, that the Southern Cameroons had their independence. They had the vote in the United Nations on the 21st of April, 1961, giving the Southern Cameroons independence on October the 1st, 1961. French Cameroon knows that. And they know their date of independence to be January the 1st, 1960. Why do they not celebrate their Independence Day? Again, it boils down to this idea of a deception and a fraud. So they try to use this fraud in order to make the people feel that the reunification is real. It's not. They are the losers. If for beginning from 1960 all the way to 2024, the 2024 their independence is going to come up, has already come up in 2024, January 1st. They did not celebrate it. All these years they don't celebrate their Independence Day. So they're actually the losers, and they know very well that why they plan this deception. They know very well that there is trouble along the line. And as you remember, Comrade Atemking, Dennis Atemking mentioned declassified documents. And on not long ago, also the documents were declassified that the French consul in Boya, on October the 20th of 1962, wrote a memorandum or a memo that stipulated very clearly that they were afraid. They already knew that there could be separation. That document was marked confidential, and the consul was saying that they are afraid of that they will be separatists. They even mentioned Augustin Gomjua. That was in 1962, like I said, and they also mentioned PM Kemcha. They just put him Kemcha. As you all know, PM Kemcha was in the government in those days, and was from Lebialem. At that time, Lebialem was under a Mamfe division. So they already knew that trouble was on the way. They saw it. And you will also remember that a long time ago, one of the U.S. Congresspersons mentioned that putting Southern Cameroons and French Cameroon together was like putting a balloon under the water. It will one day come out. So you can see that all these things that are happening, the international community, Britain, France, the two Cameroons, French Cameroon and Ambazonia, they know that they can never be together. We know from in life that iron does not mix with clay. They both never mix. So all that they have been doing is just beating about the bush and hoping that things are going to work out, but they will never work out. Our fight against French Cameroon is a fight against tyranny, just like the United States fought against Britain, fought against tyranny and King George III, and got their independence and their freedom. We too, that's exactly what we are looking for. We are fighting against decolonization and against annexation, and we'll continue to fight until we achieve our goal, until Ambazonia is totally free. Thank you.
Thank you. Comrade Derek, I would like your perspective on this reunification subject, please, before we go deeper into it.
Wow, reunification. I think the other panelists have actually touched everything, but before we will go in, I think when going in, I will be reflecting some aspects of our history from 1884, or let me say before 1884 to 1891. And then I would also like to contribute some aspect of the part that the international community played in this myth of us being together with Cameroon, which means we are going to look what are the parts that our own leaders played. What was the scenario? What was the mess they did? And then what was that the international community did that brought us into this myth? We're also going to look what facilitated it. We're looking at the international, the events that were taking place during that period where this whole myth of reunification was being planned. What was going on? We look at we're going to touch at the Iron Curtain. We look at the Israel-Palestine problem. We look at the Suez Canal problem. You look at the you can also look at the we'll also look at the Cuban Missile Crisis. All this event, what did it lead to, and why did America, got to stay quiet, or knowing well fully that Ambazonia was going for colonization and for nothing known as reunification. So we are going to go deeply into that. And then the most important thing that I would want us to know about this myth is the path that all these international community and our leaders and even French La République Cameroon, the part they played using Ambazonia as, how do you call it, as a bid. That's something you give for exchange in order to get something. You see, Ambazonia, if you look for 1889, just as Comrade Temken said, we were not actually a territory, but that part, the Ambas Bay was already carved. So how was the Ambas Bay used as a bait, to appease the Germans? How was it used as a bait to appease the French? How was it used as a bait to neutralize the Maquisard, the political turmoil that was taking place in La République Cameroon? So we are going to look into all those aspects about reunification. Now, the reunification itself, as we say, is a myth because from it took a wrong premise. The path it followed already indicated that it was pure annexation. The failure of the international community to respect Article 76B, because that is the main argument about this myth, the non-respect of Article 76B. So I do not much look at Resolution 1608 as something very important when it comes to this myth, because Resolution 1608 was merely a resolution and actually approving our independence. But now coming into the myth itself, Resolution 1608 has nothing to do. What actually has a major part to play, which we hold the UN responsible, is the non-implementation of Article 76B of the United Nations Charter. So I'm going to go into it later deeper, and then we are going to also going to touch a bit about the how the part played by the international community, the UN itself, when Damasjo died, who came up? Utan. What was the part? Why did Utan actually not follow up, Article 76B? So we're going to talk about that. Why was it not? Why that? Because his non-implementation of that resolution led to the annexation of the Southern Cameroon, which actually was a myth of unification. So I'm going to talk about that. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Let's get back to the question. If I may ask, particularly from the both of you, when did La République du Cameroon first began propagating this idea of a reunification? Was it from independence in 1961 and 60 and 61? Or before that? Conrad Temple, please.
No, it was not before that. In fact, as far back as 1959, when he addressed the United Nations to speak about, when Ahidjo addressed the United Nations to speak about that they are not annexationists, they were saying that if their brothers wanted to reunify, he used that word in the UN. He used that word in the UN. So they have started this a long time ago. You remember the so-called reunification monument in Yaoundé? So they had started this a long time ago, but our people were not vigilant, exactly as we allowed ourselves, while in Nigeria, to keep adopting the name Cameroon. Look at all the political parties that were formed in the southern Cameroons. All of them have the particle of Cameroon in their names, KNDP and so on. Why was it so? You must ask yourself. Was this just simply the fact that was it simply the fact that they were intimidated in Nigeria? So why were they ingratiating themselves with the name Cameroon? Because they simply tied their hands and their legs by using the name Cameroon when they were not Cameroonians, had nothing in common with Cameroon. So this is where trouble started. So Ahidjo started the idea of reunification as far back as 1959. And from then he continued talking about it all along until they actually created a monument in Yaoundé about reunification. So let us be clear about this, because we gave the impression in Nigeria that we were Cameroonians and so encouraged them to talk about reunification, which was a terrible mistake we did. Thank you.
Thank you. Comrade Chris, your point on this, again, you are older than all of us here, and you probably have a better idea on when this campaign about reunification first started.
Yes, Comrade Chris, I am glad that again, Comrade Dennis Atemkin went into the history and went back in history and showed us that French Cameroon indeed had very bad, call it dubious plans concerning the southern Cameroons. We cannot talk about this topic without mentioning Fumba. Look at what happened in Fumba. The French representatives were there with French Cameroon because they were working hand in hand, And who did we have in Fumban? We had our own politicians who were sort of like naive, or they didn't have a good grounding about the situation. They came there not ready. The British were actually supposed to come there and represent us, being the UN administrator for the Southern Cameroons. They didn't show up. So the groundwork had already been laid for the call it the takeover, the annexation, the neo-colonialism against Amazonia. And about that was so that they had already planted. Even the constitution that they later on adopted was nothing but the French Cameroon constitution that was sort of like amended in a certain way, revised. Certain articles were revised and shoved down the throats of Amazonians or Southern Cameroonians at the time. We should not shy away from the name Southern Cameroons or Cameroon. It just happens that that designation Southern Cameroons was used because the British wanted to differentiate it from French Cameroon. That's how it was always called. Even when the Southern Cameroons were members of the Eastern Regional Assembly in Enugu, they were considered those representatives were considered to be representatives from Southern Cameroons. So that name is a historical name. Say that was, we can say, was given to Amazonia, and we'll continue to work with it. When we adopted the name Amazonia, it was much later, but that name Southern Cameroons has always been there. So there is no reason to run away from it. Thank you.
Yes, Comrade Derek, please.
Thank you. Well, I will just want to go a bit far back from 1889. You see, Amazonia. Oh, oh, let's say the Southern Cameroon, as far as putting it, but I would prefer Amazonia. Amazonia actually, if we go far back from the British, with the German, as we talk about German Cameroon, we should understand that Amazonia was not part of German Cameroon when it was created in 1884, just as Comrade Temken has said. We merely became part of German Cameroon in 1889 when the Anglo-German peace agreement was signed. So that territory that was under the British came to the French. But now there's something that took place in 1891 when the French signed a peace treaty with the Germans. So the parts of the territories that the French had occupied, that occupied was shared and given to the Germans. So you had part of the Chad, Congo, Gabon, Central Africa. So the French gave it to the Germans to get peace in 1881. So the French considered those part of the territory to be some kind of swampy areas, because by then it was very swampy, so they never considered it very important. But now, after the end of the First World War, this territory were handed back when the Germans were defeated. The French started doing something that French Cameroon that brought to this idea of unification. That was not dismantling the German Cameroon, which after the First World War. So the part that were taken from these various countries were given back to them. So it was left now the British Cameroons and the main French Cameroon, which is known as the German Cameroon. So what happened was that when the United Nations, by 1953, the United Nations has already sent sign that they will want countries to be decolonized, because there was very, very high pressure from the Scandinavians, from the Russians, and from most East European countries. They were firing the Central Europeans that had colonies to decolonize the territories. So by that time, there was also research about petroleum, about gas, about all these mineral, uranium, in the Congos, in the South, in South, in like or in the British Cameroons, which is today Amazonia, and then Nigeria. So the French by then, with the Americans, have already decided that they have already realized that there was petrol around the Nigeria the Delta area. So they knew immediately that there was huge sum of petrol because it's a basin. So they realized that petrol actually is from that British territory from that territory that they call Ambas Bay that was under the British mandate. So the French immediately started working to see how they could get that territory. And the reason is why, because our people had already allowed the French Cameroonians who had political turmoil in the area to start coming into our place gradually. Some were migrating to do two-party farm, like if you go like you go to Sancho, you go to the people were migrating from Menua. So we had all this interaction with them. So when now the time for independence came, the French Cameroonians, the UPC, already knew the potential that territory had. So their complaint now was that they used the fallacy of what's this statement of Pan-Africanism. It was promoted by Onyobe, and they came now and experimented it in Amazonia because no territory wanted that. Even Kwame Nkrumah himself, who was going around doing that, he never wanted to sacrifice Ghana. But Onyobe went to the African Union, spoke, and then he sold his agenda of the Pan-Africanism, and it was bought. And now they turn now to see how they can now experiment this failed project of Pan-Africanism, because I don't see it working. This failed project on Amazonia. So in the African Union, Amazonia they saw Amazonia as an experiment where they were going to see how if we can unite with La République de Cameroon, then they can now start spreading this idea of one Africa, which they have been doing for many years, which has failed. You see, so in Yobe by 1956-58, Ernest Wanji, they had already been promoting this idea. So when the French saw that the UPC was progressing, the French quickly now took over the program. And when Marine Bida won the elections, the French had already prepared Ayijo, because Ayijo, the French saw that the UPC and Marine Bida, there were people who wanted real freedom. They wanted real freedom. So the French were very skeptical on working with them. So they had now to bring up the Oman, which was called Ahijo. And then Ahijo now was the one now they used, with the French powers, they used it and promoted Ahijo at the UN, at the international level. And people started hearing about Ahijo talking about unification. So all that is how Amazonia was used as a bit, to bring peace in La République du Cameroun. Because Ernest Wanji, they knew that if we come inside, if we unite with La République du Cameroun, all this Maquisard thing and all this killing of the French Cameroonians will die down. And that is how Ayijo succeeded to penetrate our people. And unfortunately, the real Cameroon nationalists were killed. Some went to exile, and the French took over this UPC program of reunification, which actually, the French program of it died. They followed the wrong path, which was actually annexation. But the real UPC people wanted pure and simple and clear independence for both territory, but it never went so because the French took over. Their interest was those materials, the raw material, the petrol, and everything. So this unification, this idea of this unification, as you and to answer your question, started far back, even from 1953.
Something that, if you look deep, you realize among these propagators of reunification. I think, to me, I think the message that somebody who is watching should realize, like the people to Cameroon in their elite are essentially saying, well, I mean, their message is tantamount to Ambazonia or Southern Cameroon has always been part of Cameroon. And so we can also say Cameroon has always been part of Africa. Going by that argument, isn't it? It's like going back to the original part and saying, well, Africa was one, and so that's why we say Ambazonia and the Southern Cameroons are one. That is, I think that's the argument they are trying to make, which doesn't hold water until the boundaries are removed, which will never be removed.
Yes, Comrade Chris, let me chip in here. Our comrade Derry mentioned some very important points here, but I want to back up a little bit. You have heard in America, I'm going to use the word stupid, because when people don't understand something in America, they will make a statement and they will say stupid. For example, in America, they would say something like, "It is the economy, stupid," meaning if you don't understand that it's the economy, you are stupid. And it has always been in the case of Ambazonia, for example, what we're talking about here, beginning from the German partition of Africa from 1884, it has always been about resources. The bottom line is resources. No matter how you look at it, most wars have been fought because of resources. So that is the main reason that the Germans went into this idea about the partition of Africa. And if we fast forward and we go to the time of people like the Inyobes that we're talking about, the Makiza issue, the people that were fighting for call it total independence, the UPC people, the French did not like it because they didn't want these people who are sort of like rebels to have control of the country, make it independent, fight against the French, just like the French fought against the Algerians, fight against them, and then take over the territory and own it by themselves and run the call it the resources or of these countries. And they were also, because of the discoveries, also they were also looking at the resources in Ambazonia, in the former British Southern Cameroon. So that was always in their mind, behind they will never come out in the forefront and tell you that is what is going on. But the whole idea had always been about the resources, how to grab it, how to take control of it, and do whatever they want to do with it, and let everybody go to hell or to shut everybody up. That is what has been going on in Ambazonia. It's all we are suffering because of our resources, and our people should understand that. And until of course, real justice is done. Until real justice is done, there will never be any peace. You can La Republic has to talk about peace. Peace is returning to the northwest, as they call it, or to the southwest. They talk about peace, but where is the justice? There is no justice, and until we get it, there will be no peace. Thank you.
Yeah, just to add something about the resources, we should not also forget that even the oil today that is exploited in Equatorial Guinea is from Ambazonia. They have used pipes to take that oil, and that is why the Americans are quiet, because it's high that we start telling them this. It is our resources, it is our oil. The Americans are refining, they tap to Equatorial Guinea, and they're paying them some few money. You see what Equatorial Guinea is even doing with that money. You know, they're transforming their country very fast because they know that that oil is not theirs. The oil is coming from Amazonia, and one day they are going to miss that. So our resources are as you have rightly said, Chairman, it is really a serious problem for Amazonia.
Yeah, going back to the question of our resources, Comrade Dennis. We did not start hearing about this reunification not until after oil was discovered in our territory.
Yes, Comrade Chris. The fact is that if you look at the whole world, the Westerners who lead the world have put into the minds of all the states that resources, for resources you can kill, you can do anything, you can sacrifice people. It doesn't mean a thing. You go to Palestine, it's exactly the same thing. You go everywhere else. You see Britain leaving England to go and occupy the Falklands. How many thousands of miles away? So this issue of resources is there. But I don't know whether in our own case, the British were not interested in those resources, or how would they so easily have traded away the Southern Cameroons like that?
Well, the British had not.
I think there's some.
The British did not discover the resources. Remember, the British had said to us, you can't have independence on your own because you don't have the resources to run a government, right? So not until 1972 they found the oil, and now the question, the issue of reunification now comes in.
Comrade Chris, when the oil was found, let us say by the French, the British now went behind and say, hey, let's make a deal. This, you are getting this from our former territory. Let's make a deal. So they have a deal going on between them. These Western powers have a deal going on between them where they are taking advantage of the Amazonian resources while our people are dying and they don't care.
And let me say something, Comrade Chris.
Yes.
Let me say something. This idea of reunification has been shifting. In the Bakassi case, they explained to the ICJ that their boundaries did not crystallize on their day of independence, which is the 1st of January 1960, but on 1st of October 1961, which was their day of reunification, giving the impression that they were reunifying their territory because they provided no proof that there was anything called reunification, but the Westerners still accepted it. Because why? If you go back and ask yourself, why is it that in elaborating the articles of the ICJ, trust territories will never get access to the ICJ? You will see the conspiracy of the Western powers throughout the world, because you will not believe that if you created trust territories, naturally they should have a right to have access to the ICJ. But in the articles of the ICJ, the Western world carefully excluded the trust territories from having access to the ICJ. And that is one of the issues that is crippling us, that we had nowhere to complain about the injustices that the British did against us, because the Westerners conspired to exclude trust territories from having access to the ICJ. So Cameroon goes to the ICJ in the Bakassi case, tells a lie that its boundaries crystallized on the 1st of January, 1st of October 1961. But after that, what is happening? They have moved from the 1st of October 1961 to 20th May 1972, that they thought that they had completely colonized us. And they are not celebrating the 1st of October 1961, but the 20th of May 1972. So you see that they are just using reunification as a tool to get their way around the world, to deceive those who don't know.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And let me just add something. Yeah, just to support what Comrade Dr. Dennis Atemke have just said, we should not forget, if our politicians were very keen, they would have followed the UC, the CNU Congress in Ebolowa. That was July 1906. Was it? No, that was June. 8th of June to, no, 4th of June to 8th of July 1961, before 1st October. So they had already a CNU Congress, or a Union Camerounese Congress that took place in Neboloa. And there, the parliamentarians of Cameroon rejected this idea of unification. They rejected this idea of bringing Ambazonia and or the southern Cameroon together with La République du Cameroon. And they rejected the idea of using their constitution in Fuman. Ayijo was so confused, but Ayijo made a very important statement. He told them that, look, this idea of us coming together is just a myth. That is where Ayijo himself proclaimed this unification as a myth. He made it. If you guys can read the Congress report. You know, he said that we are just using our constitution and a change of our name from La République du Cameroun to the Federal Republic du Cameroun just to facilitate our territory come back. This I'm just paraphrasing. It's just to facilitate our territory to come back. Once we get that territory, then we can now move ahead to change back things and get back our name. It is clearly written there by Ijo. And he made it very clearly.
No, you are right, Comrade Derek.
Yeah.
You are right, Comrade Derek. I just want to correct.
Yeah?
No, you are perfectly right, Comrade Derek. You are perfectly right. You know, I just want to go back to what Comrade Chris said. He said that, Mr. Ajwa, he was saying that the constitution that was finally adopted, no constitution was adopted. It was just a modification of La République du Cameroon's constitution, which was adopted only by their parliament. We never adopted it. No, our own parliament never adopted it. Yes.
After a long debate, because
so that should be made very clear. All our people should know.
Yeah, their parliament did not. So, but Ayijo told them that this is just to facilitate the return of their lost territory. Once that come back, once they gain back that territory, then they are going to march back step by step. He used the word gradually. Nous allons faire ça très silencieusement. That is what he said. We'll do it gradually, and then we will get back. We'll come back to our name.
And Paul Biya used the word assimilation. We tried assimilating them, integrating them.
Paul Biya was there. Paul Biya was there. He knew it. Yeah. So because when we came now, they started dismantling it back. They started coming back to what Ayijo has promised. They went from Federal Republic to United Republic. From United Republic, we came back now to La République du Cameroun. So it was well prepared. So the idea of unification was a total myth. And Ayijo himself had made the people to understand that. But unfortunately, our politicians, just as the other panelists said in the beginning, they were just people who were just following. They never even knew I think they never knew what actually sovereignty was all about. But if they knew what sovereignty was all about, they could have easily identified. And not only that, people had already warned. The Secretary General himself, the Hamas Joel, he said, look, this territory, it's just like a balloon where you press it, joining it with Cameroon, it's just like a balloon, you press it inside water, one day it will resurface. So people had warned them. You had many, even the ambassador of American ambassador, so many of them, they had warned that, look, please don't go there. But our politicians were unfortunate. What about our own people? What about Tafala Balowa? He warned that, look, you are going to Cameroon, that is fire. You even come even to our own chiefs. They told them that, please, we should not go there. But unfortunately, our politicians never heard. They just allowed themselves, went to Fuman, and came up with the Cameroon revised constitution, which actually facilitated the myth we have today.
In my
now, let me add another thing, Comrade Chris.
This is the reason why Amazonians must resist French colonization. I'd like us to tie this together before I open the phone lines for people to make their call. What should be the message somebody listening to us on Ground Zero should get from this conversation. Honorable Azua.
Well, before I answer that question, let me just mention also that we were sort of Southern Cameroonian British Southern Cameroonians were in a bind. Many of them had been maltreated by through the experiences that they had with Nigerians, particularly people from the eastern part of Nigeria, the Igbos, for example. And just the idea of going to join them, they were terribly scared that by joining Nigeria, they were simply going to be made, call it subordinates, people without rights in Nigeria. That is one of the reasons why, even with the insistence of Dr. EML Ndele for us to join Nigeria instead of joining La République du Cameroon, our people instead ended up joining French Cameroon. And then so there are some people that have, in hindsight, been asking questions like, what would have happened if we had joined Nigeria? And then the civil war that they had over there, separatists broke out. Where would British Southern Cameroons have been at the time? Where would they stand as far as that war?
And that was the big argument that the Foncha can use in convincing Amazonians that you go to Nigeria, you'll be dominated. And our people, already knowing the experience before 1953, thought they would be swallowed in Nigeria. But I think today, with the benefit of the hindsight, we all know it would have been a better experiment than with La République du Cameroon. Go on, please.
I
yes.
think, let me just say, okay. You want to say something?
Very, continue, please.
Okay, yeah. You see, Comrade Chris, even the mistake that our parents did. Let's say there were people of modest education. You know, what about the UN? What was the UN doing? Was it not their responsibility to make sure that these trust territories get the right they deserve?
Well, the UN did not vote. The people voted.
Yeah, but the people voted. Yeah, no, but the people voted.
No, you know what? I think we are making a terrible mistake there. Always remember the double standards of the Western world. Just imagine how. Have you ever taken time to read the part of Resolution 1608?
You guys voted, not them.
Yes.
No, but Comrade Chris, this is where we are making a mistake. I think we are making a mistake.
Have you ever taken time to read the section of Resolution 1608 that refer to Northern Cameroons and the section that refers to Southern Cameroon? You will see a big difference in the way that those paragraphs were drafted. And remember, the Resolution 1608 was passed without anything putting any monitoring mechanism to know whether the assignment that was given to the Committee of Britain, the United Nations, and the Southern Cameroons and La République du Cameroon was actually executed. So we took the resolution, that was the end of it. Nobody went forward to check whether was this resolution actually executed?
Ever implemented?
Was there any union between the Southern Cameroons and La République du Cameroon? Nobody at all. So everything, in fact, the colonial powers were the ones manipulating the UN. So they could do and undo. The young were sitting there not knowing what was cooking behind the scenes. So because you cannot explain the looseness with which the case of the Southern Cameroons was treated, if you have examined the text quietly and carefully, you cannot explain it except that there was a lot of conspiracy behind the scenes.
Comrade Dennis, if you look at it also, sorry to say this, but the UN, particularly the UN Security Council, even with the increase in numbers now up to, I believe, 15 members, they act essentially as a syndicate. That is, it looks like they act like a syndicate. They have their own interests and those interests are more important to them than the people that are being affected by certain situations. They look at their interests first. That is essentially what is happening. Because if they were not looking at their interests first, why would you have a continent such as Africa with I believe more than a billion? What is it? They say 1.4 billion now for Africa, the population. And the Africa doesn't have even one member as a permanent member within the UN Security Council. How do you account for that? It doesn't make sense at all. So we are just being used all the time in order for these powers to achieve their goal, whatever those goals are that they set.
Yeah, and we should not forget that when the Second World War ended, the British had already negotiated with the French, because there was a dispute between the French soldiers and the British soldiers. So to compromise or to bring peace, the Queen ordered that part of the Bonaberi, because our boundary actually was in the River Huri.
Bonaberi.
So the Queen negotiated with the French to bring peace, because the French wanted to capture right up to Victoria and Boya. So there was peace, and in that negotiation, the British now still took part of our territory as a gift. Because I want us to realize something here. Every time we are used as some kind of a gift, to appease French Cameroon. So the Queen now took part of our territory from the Mongo up to the boundary of Bonaberi and gave to the French to bring peace among them. So this concept was already with them, and the British and the French quickly went. I think that was 1920. If I'm not mistaken, 9th of August. They quickly went and signed the British. They went and signed the international boundary between us and French Cameroon, and they placed it at the Mongo. That was 9th of August 1920. I think if we go and look at our boundaries. So that territory, the British already, they were playing with the French. So when it came now to 1961, when that 1960, when the Hamajor died in Congo, who was to take over? His secretary was Utan. I think Utan, he comes from, is it Buma? The territory, Buma.
Maybe Thailand. Maybe Thailand. We need to check that.
No, I think he's from Buma. He's from Buma. So what happened was that the French now, Utan took over. Utan was to take the responsibility. But what was his complaint? He said, no, he's just an acting president. They have to wait until when he becomes full president, full secretary general.
Comrade Derek, I would like you to hold your thought there. Let's get to this caller first from ground zero, and then we'll return to you. Hello.
Okay.
Hello, Comrade Chris. Good evening.
Good evening, sir. Where are you calling from?
I am calling
from where? Is it in Ketunja?
From Ketunja County, yes, Comrade Chris.
All right. What is on your mind, sir? Go on.
Yeah, Comrade Chris, I think that an average Southern Cameroonian who is not even aware of this history we are narrating here today would know from the happenings on ground zero today, from what the Cameroon talks are orchestrating on ground zero today, that it is needless to do with these francophones. That living with them is like living in air.
Okay.
Thank you. That's what I have to say.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for the call. All right. Yeah, I think Ground Zero gets this history. Comrade Derek, go on, please.
Yeah. So, well, you see, what they call the present, I mean, the last caller just said, he just summarized it, because we can see that you can see the myth, the whole idea of myth. C'est notre frère, c'est notre sœur. All those, that myth, they are our brothers. You see, that myth we can see from what is happening in Ground Zero today. So I think if we go now, just as I was saying, U-turn actually was the one to see that Article 76B is being implemented. But did he do that? He never did. He never did that. So it allowed, why? Because the French behind told him that they were going to support his candidature to become the full Secretary General. We should not forget who was the president of the Decolonization Committee. It was a French. Who was the Secretary General? It was a British. So it was easy for these two people to manipulate us. You know, they were the one coming to give taking up the reports in our territory, and then writing everything and submit it to the General Assembly. So they could manipulate everything, and they could negotiate, you know. So U-turn saw everything and sat him quietly until he was made Secretary General, you know. And Article 76B was never implemented. Let's know that Resolution 1608 was just a declaration of independence. It was just to confirm that, okay, these people are independent. Now, what was supposed to...
Comrade, I will let you to pause with your thought again. Let's get to this other caller. Hello. Hello.
Yes, can I come in, Comrade Chris?
Yes, sir. Come in. You're calling from Europe, I guess.
Yes, I'm calling from Germany. My name is Collins.
All right. Go on, sir.
Yeah, you see, permit me say something. All this grammar and history that people blow on TV, I think that we've heard it 1,000 times, and there is no need repeating history and talking. The reality is that Amazonia is an occupied territory, and La Republic is not pretending that it has colonized a country. You know, you colonize people with an army, using an army because you are more powerful. It's a violent act. Everybody knows we are colonized, we are occupied, we are enslaved, and we have to fight for freedom, because there is no day they will have a conscience and say that let us free you. So we all know this history. All of you sitting there in the studio, before you go out, you people should talk about the things that we need to free the land. I mean, those are the things that we should be repeating every day. What are we supposed to do? What activities are you people carrying out so that we free the land? In this world, it's not about legality. I mean, if you have a country, you have your independent, they have their own, they have different legal system. We have our own. But they are ruling over you. Like you showed Menji today. They have governors, they have DOs there, they have military bases there, they control everything. They are not doing it because they don't know that Amazonia had its own independence. No, they are doing it because they have guns, they have an army. They were not able to colonize. They did not go to Gabon because Gabon had an army. They did not go to Congo because they had an army. They came to Amazonia because we were without an army and Britain left us. So, I think that we should be serious. We are at war. We should be telling Ground Zero what we in the diaspora are doing. They should see us doing activities that are going to lead to freedom of Amazonia. Not coming and repeating histories here and there. There are books written by Carson and Yangwe. There are experts who know history. There are books written by Dr. Ford. I hope that what I'm saying is making sense.
No, all right. After listening, all right. Let me respond. Let me respond to you now. Let me respond to you now. What you are saying doesn't make sense because you may be educated, comrade, but not everybody is educated to your level. That is the reason why once in a while we come on. Let me make the point. Hold on. Let me make the point. Hold on. Let me make the point. Not everybody is as educated as you think. Many people on the ground may not even know what we are talking about here today. We're not here talking about Article 1608 or referendum or whatever. We are talking about reunification, a terminology that has been used again and again and again to tie us to La République du Cameroon. Many people don't know the genesis of it. So, comrade, I think while you may be partly right in your assertion, you are also partly wrong because not everybody has this knowledge. I will allow my partner to weigh in 50 seconds each on this, please.
No, I think we are just as you said is right one way. But what you should understand here is that this liberation struggle has a challenge now. The challenge comes only within us. We have some brothers and sisters who are going out preaching about devolution of power. When you talk about devolution of power, you mean that you want that you should go back to this myth called reunification with La République du Cameroon. And I believe that this our brother has been following people like Capo Daniel. They have been following people like Monzo, Agbobalas, who are asking us to go back to this same myth that has and some of our old parents, some of our old mothers are falling into these things. So it is high time we start making them, tracing them, the history, so that it should be more clearer to them that at no point we had ever been with La République du Cameroon, and there should be nothing about reunification. Even they themselves merely made it very clearly that let's facilitate the annexation of this territory by just changing these names from La République du Cameroon to Federal Republic to United Republic, and then back. So our people should know this trick. You understand what that La République played? Without that, some of them will still fall into this issue. And when you look, some are going to register for elections. What elections are you going to register when you are not a Cameroonian?
All right, hold your thought there. Let's get back to the phone here. Hello.
Yeah, I agree to comrades. Thank you for the great work you are doing there. I agree to all your panel.
All right.
I want to respond to the last caller who have just called now.
Okay.
And was like telling you not to give our to teach our people their history. So I'm telling you that just go ahead and do your work. There are so many of our people that does not know our right history, and you know that these people since they were struggling to assimilate or colonize us, they never wanted us to know our right history. So go on, keep on. You are doing a good work. That man who is trying to tell you not to continue teaching the history because he doesn't want our people to know their right history. That man is a crook. I can say he's black lady. So keep on. Thank you for the great work.
All right, thank you for the call.
I'm calling from Boyo County.
All right, thank you for the call, sir. We will definitely continue educating our people. This thing is a process, and we have to continue to educate the people to know. Because what if we have a referendum and the people don't even know how they ought to be voting? This education is very, very necessary, and we will do it once in a while until this thing is said and done. I don't know who wanted to add something to what.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I just want to say that until Article 76B is respected, and we all know what Article 1 states, the whole idea of independence rests on Article 1 of this. Of paragraph 1 of the Article 76B, and on the part of the Southern Cameroon, was it respected? That is what we should be asking ourselves, and not even talking about. We talk too much about Resolution 1608, of which it was just a declaration of our independence. But now, after independence, what next? This is when La République du Cameroon comes in with this myth.
Comrade Derek.
Yeah.
Now, you are talking about Resolution 1608. The whole Bible of decolonization, Resolution 1514, was never even mentioned in our own case. So you are talking about a minor issue there. The principal document that governs all decolonization is Resolution 1514. It was not even mentioned in our own case. So really, so this is the problem. Just to come back to what the last caller was saying, all decolonization, the fight must begin in the mind. If you do not decolonize your mind, you cannot be decolonized externally. So education is critically important. And La République de Cameroon is trying to use those words reunification to intoxicate your mind. So if your own people don't intoxicate you people, what shall we become? Because La République will come and tell you those same stories. You believe them because nobody ever told you the truth. So I think it is very important for us, while fighting on the ground, to make our people understand the mental decolonization must begin and must be reinforced. Thank you.
Exactly.
Well
Just
said.
as you said,
Well said,
Doctor, as you
comrade.
said, we have to start with our own mind. If you look, just as you see, it is only our own people who are going out there and be preaching about devolution of power. I don't know if you guys have heard this Capo Daniel going out there preaching about devolution of power. You see, when he goes out there and he's talking all those things, devolution of power, what does he mean by that? That he's just merely telling our people, stop the struggling, let's go back to our colonizer because they are ready to share power with you. When has Cameroon ever shared power? Even within their own system, they don't share the power. Then how can we go back to them? And there are some of our people who are doing this. Because I call even in the village, some are rushing to go and do, some are going to register. Can you believe that? Even at the myth of war. Some want to go until you start preaching, telling them that it is useless going to do that because you will never get anything. You always get back the colonial system because elections in Cameroon, I repeat it, elections in Cameroon is just a means to help the colonial system replay itself. There is no elections in La République of Cameroon. So if we are going to vote, it's just waste of time. It's just waste of time. And as I said last time, until the La République citizens are able to match the colonial effort, to match them bullet by bullet, bees by bees, if they don't do that, going for election, even the whole La République votes for Camto, CPDM, the colonial system will take the results and put out their bees, just as Atangandi have said, and the bees will sting the people. Once it sting them, they will rush back to their homes and everything will die down. It will continue. So all this devolution of power that we hear will never take place. So let's forget and let our people know about that. Let's know that we were deceived. The resolutions that were to take care of our independence were not implemented. So it is in our place while fighting, we educate ourselves and even get some diplomat to start lobbying on our behalf while we are holding our guns to defend ourselves on the war that was brought upon us.
At this point, I will add that the good book says, my people perish for lack of knowledge. We can never stop informing our people. Information education is the key. Remember also that because of our predicament at the moment, our people are not getting all the information, the education that they need. History books, we all know that history books in La République de Cameroon are censored. They have to be approved. The books have to be written and approved by the letter for them to be published, which means French Cameroon is giving out false information through history books, through other matters relating to social sciences and other means, television, radio, and even the so-called mass media in La République is not even independent. There is no independent press in La République, and people are being misinformed all the time. So you know what happened to people, journalists in over there who open their mouth and tell the truth. They vanish. You know, they are made to disappear. So our people have to be informed about these matters. We cannot say, okay, if we tell this story in 2024, next year 2025, we shouldn't tell the story. Our children are growing up. They have to know this history. As they get to a certain age, depending on their intelligence and their level of the education, they get to learn more new stuff. And this is how we do it. We teach them so that the older ones who listen to this history teach the younger ones, and they continue to transfer this knowledge to our people. Knowledge is a key to you cannot be fighting for something that you don't even understand what it is that you are fighting for. First, you have to understand what your goal is, or what the problem is, in order to solve it. So we will continue to the history forever, never stop. All generations of Ambazonia will learn our history. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Let me get back to the phones. Hello.
Hello. Chris, good evening, sir.
Good evening, sir. Where are you calling from?
From Gazi.
Okay, and what is in your mind?
Precisely from Moyoka.
Okay. Go on, sir.
Well, I want to send greetings, extend my greetings to your panelists. I should have salute.
Okay.
That are welcome. Well, from what we will follow from now, I'm going to read for mind. For education like this one, will be ready for receiver. And it be very much important for we for the follow up till like this one, because it prepare our mind. It prepare the mind of most of we will do for ground zero now. And most of our parents to them with the sense. It means this will know what to fight for. Because everybody don't be educated enough to know exactly which way they go on.
Exactly. That's the point. That's the point I was making to the caller. He may be educated. Some others may be educated, but not everybody is educated at the same level.
Some other people may not be educated.
Correct.
So, places like this will make you need to go follow some people the way they come, they talk, some other talk them. Or get a point, they talk, if you talk, now that kind of people you should bring them for forum way. They come talk with the day, one foot is up, because some parents you should bring away, come up. When they talk with like, they talk like, who go for, like, why did they talk, why they talk, I say, who go follow that referendum on which we gain that for total separation. Anybody will not there for separation, we not even bring them for forum. We can't talk with we. But topic like this one be very good and correct for you for listener. We feel listening program like this one from now till tomorrow, because it prepare our mind. It be very good for prepare mind so that you know the physical way you will fight about. If the mind not be prepared, the outer part be wrong.
All right.
So yeah, I would like to add something that the caller is just saying.
Thank you, sir. Okay. Appreciate it. All right, comrades, we are going to round this up, and I give you 50 seconds each. You want to make the last point, do that, and we'll call it a day. I have one breaking story that I have to bring. In fact, you guys just stay put in there. Let me bring this on. I will take a minute out, and then I bring the breaking story that is coming in right now. From the Lebialem statehood. All right, ladies and gentlemen, before I leave, I want to bring you this story which had just coming from Lebialem, of a gentleman shot and killed on his own farm. Remember, at the beginning of this broadcast, I talked about the level of insecurity and the harassment that is going on in Lebialem by the to Cameroon soldiers. And I mentioned that they go home to home, they go farm to farm, steal people's cocoa, go house to house, broke into people's homes to harass them and to extort them. Now, we have this image that is emerging from the BLM just now. My understanding is this happened yesterday where a young man, the image which I'm going to show you, he was killed on his farm, yesterday. Take a listen.
I packed the gloves. Yeah, been one person.
What on ever will you? Okay.
You're a baby. No one dollar. Me was 10 baht. The gamma gloves, me not too. You're turning, you're turning. You got for this side.
Touch for this. Camera this. Sure, not gone.
It's somewhat from a very good to
no, say now I'm come.
25 kilo, 25 max.
Down, make video for your own camp. Camera this. Sure, not gone.
It's somewhat from a very good to
no, say now I'm come.
25 kilo, 25 max.
Make video for your own camp. Georgie, please.
Inside this not professional. Repeat.
Again, ladies and gentlemen, the image you find on the screen, this happened in the Lebialem yesterday. The young man in picture is said to have been shot while on his farm by assailants. Now, the little note that comes with it says, this is sad news from Fontaine at Forum in particular. I sent this info to this forum to let us know. Somebody is, drop this in the forum. And it's forwarded to me. I sent this into this forum to let us know and advise those home. This young man killed in his farm this morning, that was yesterday, brings a warning to us. Advise those home not to go to farm alone. His killers planned it very well and executed him. He was called Anchorman martyr. Let God comfort the family he left behind. Again, that is coming from Fontaine in Lebialem. And this story is important because from the beginning of this broadcast, I talked about the level of insecurity that is going on in Lebialem, Menji, Fontaine in particular, at the moment, in the hands or French Cameroon soldiers. So when people are being told to go back home, you may meet a situation like this. The reason many people want to go back home is because they have farms like this young man. They have farms like this young man. Just imagine, you think you are safe right on your farm, right deep in the forest. You don't know that is where they are coming to kill you. We don't know the details surrounding this yet, but I believe before I come up next time, we will have known the details. I will give my panel the last 50 seconds to please make a brief point. And let's call it a day. Comrade, I'll start with you, sir.
These images, really reminds us of our duty to work hard to free ourselves. And as I said, as we said from the beginning, our resources, these people. Any way he or she can in order to exploit something from our territory. And these are the kind of people some of our own brothers and sisters are asking us to go and remain with them. That will never happen. Let all those who talk about devolution, or those who are telling us that, the international community will not support us, they will not do that, we should take a special status now, otherwise we are going to lose our independence. Let them put it deep in their mind. It is not in the place of the international community to determine who we are. We are the ones to tell them what we want, and if they want to work with us, then they can work with us. It is not in their place. If we allow them to determine things for us, they will take us back to what happened in 1961, and we will remain as slaves. It is in the place of the Amazonian people to determine who they are. Just like we can see people from Mali, we can see people from Niger, Burkina Faso telling the international community what they want. And if the international community want to work with them, they work. If they don't want, let them stay. But take what belongs to you. Be who you are. We are not going to hurry this liberation struggle to take some kind of special status or devolution of power because we are afraid that some kind of international community will come and tell us that you will no more have independence. Our independence is sealed, it is granted, and nobody can take it away from us. So let every one of us, Ambazonians, tell it to your mother, tell it to your brothers and sisters, to your parents, that we are the ones to tell the international community. We are the ones to tell Britain, to tell America, to tell whosoever, the United Nations, that this is what we want. If they want to support us, let them come. If they don't want, let them stay there. We are going to face Cameroon bullet for bullet, arm for arm, beat for arm, until they leave our territory. So I would like to thank again once more everyone who is holding this liberation struggle. And please don't give up to contribute the little you can, despite all the ups and downs we have been hearing in this liberation struggle. Those young boys there defending that territory need your support. I am standing here as one of the elders of this liberation struggle to appeal on every Ambazonia, goodwill Ambazonia, give your support. I am not asking liberation fighters to go and hold guns to point old mothers in the village and or parents to take money from them. Allow those parents to support you as they have been doing since 2016. There is nothing like liberation tax. So thank you, Comrade Chris, for having me once more on your platform, and thank the other panelists.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Honorable Chris, your last point there, please.
Yes, thank you very much, Comrade Chris. Like the title on the screen right now showing says there's no security in Lebialem, people being killed even on their own farms. Earlier you showed us the the brainwashed and the belly politicians who were praising the so-called SDO of Lebialem, telling him that he's God sent. And there is really no peace. Again, like we said earlier, that without any justice, there cannot be peace at all. The BLM is still dilapidated, whether they are people's homes, whether they are roads, bridges. Look at the bridge at Trikonam near the hospital and the college area. That bridge, I don't think is possible right now. Some say they're trying to make another bridge, either maybe up the street and upstream. But I don't think it's going to work, because they will give money for it, and the people will take it and embezzle the money. We're talking about security. I don't think there was any security. If you were watching that video that you showed, a pickup truck, I believe it was a Toyota pickup truck,
Right.
applying one of the terrible roads in the BLM, you would have seen that truck was carrying a French Cameroon flag. There was a French Cameroon flag in the back. If you are truly in a free country where there is peace, where there is justice and there is peace, why would you take a vehicle and put a flag and run a flag on the vehicle before you travel within your own country? That shows that there is no security. And essentially what they're saying is, they are bending backwards to accept and give hand over the country and the territory to French Cameroon. That's essentially what they are saying. Well, and we don't care about we don't Ambazonians don't pay allegiance to French Cameroon. We pay allegiance to Ambazonia and our constitution, and that is how it should be. Something that French Cameroon has never practiced anyway. They are neither loyal to the state nor loyal nor do they pay allegiance to their constitution. Thank you very much again for inviting. We'll continue the fight until Ambazonia is free. Everybody should play their part in various ways for our people on the ground, whom we really appreciate, the ones that are paying the ultimate price with their lives, our internally displaced, all our refugees. We need to take care of them. We need to take care of our people that are being killed on a daily basis. It starts mean nothing to French Cameroon. Means nothing. We have to do our best to get this war ended and our people free forever. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for being part of the show tonight. Thank you, Comrade Derek. Comrade Dennis is offset already. Again, once more, I appreciate all of you for being able to come on tonight. You have a great night over there. Before I go, let me read this message from one of our listeners. Your response to the caller is also, I think this writer is referring to the guy who called and said, oh, no need to talk about history and stuff. And then here the listener writes, your response to the caller is also my point. The only way to do the right thing to free our nation is understanding the genesis of our history. If one does not know the scriptures, it will be impossible to obey God, not to talk about living right. True, without information, we are bound to fail. That's the reason for people working in factions. I am truly blessed with this panel. All right, and with that, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to call it a night. I hope that you have been illuminated and educated with the presentation tonight. I look forward to being back here on Monday. You all have a great weekend out there. God bless you all.